Chap, you and Carapal and your colleagues have been doing some really extraordinary work tracking the faith journeys of even the kids that we thought were in the wheelhouse of the youth group and of their home church and deeply connected, and then they're off at college and the statistics are not that encouraging. You're finding an awful lot of slippage in those first 2 weeks, first year, first 2 years of college, and that's led you to reflect on what we should be doing differently at the high school level to create a faith that sticks. Tell us about your prescriptive thoughts.
Well, a lot of the research seems to come out of the kids that actually stuck around and the commonalities that they shared, or at least as they expressed them. And then there's a whole other body of research that has not made it into the Sticky Faith books, but I was much more a part of it, a student leadership project, multi-ethnic. We did it for 10 years. We had roughly 30 to 40 students, and we walked with them. And the statistics are great on those group of kids. They were all juniors when we got them. 93% of them are having deep, impacting walks with Christ right now, involved in mission in the world. It's amazing. Not very many of them vocationally. So we've actually seen in a few pockets around, it's really seemed to really take hold. And then kind of the standard youth ministry, not so much. And when you look at what are the really best practices, best ways of thinking, here's some real simple tips for you to keep in mind. One is, as a kid is given more and more opportunity to disagree while they're in high school with their parents, theologically especially, or their church or their pastor to ask hard questions, that they're given the safety with it, as if they're respectful especially, to be able to say, I'm not sure that I see God at work when we treat the poor the way we do. I don't really understand homelessness when we buy a new organ. Help me with this one. And that's a threat to a lot of adults, but the kids that really lasted had a sense that adults wanted to know what they thought. So if you can give your kids, from the time they're roughly in high school and on, voice and ability to communicate what they think and opportunities for that, one of the things that I talk about often is senior pastors really can go a long way with this one, where they invite a small group or large group of juniors and seniors in high school and young college students to critique their sermons and meet with them once a month, or meet with her once a month, and say, here's the 3 things we appreciated, here's 2 things we didn't understand, and you really missed it with that illustration. And then a dialogue. And now you were a senior pastor for years. I was for just a little while. But yeah, that's threatening, but what a gift, because then they're going to be coming, they're going to be paying attention, they're going to take notes. Of course you want that. Those kids will have a long-term faith likely, because they'll own that. Another thing that we knew is that there were adults that cared about them and knew their stories, but didn't have to by their job. It wasn't just a youth pastor or senior pastor. It was maybe somebody that was a Sunday school teacher at one point, sang in the choir, got to know them. That what we've determined, and we got this kind of number that seems random, but there's a lot of data that supports this. If youth ministry can change its thinking to just make disciples of Christ into saying that youth ministry is about adopting kids into the body where Christ is at the center, and that kid has 5 non-parental adults that know their name, that know their story, and a lot of churches go, you got to be kidding me. How do we do that? Well, we put a lot of time and energy into running youth programs. What if we allocated a percentage, maybe a big percentage, 30% of our time and energy and money into building networks of adults connecting with young people? Now, a lot of people talk about intergenerational ministry. The danger of intergenerational ministry is adults expect kids to initiate the relationships, and kids expect adults to initiate the relationships. So you go to camp, mission trip, you all go different directions. Adults have to be trained to become the youth ministries of their congregation. Adults must initiate these friendships. But when they do, they're more vibrant. See, every 60-year-old needs a 15-year-old friend to stay vibrant in Christ. And every 16-year-old kid needs a 35 or 40-year-old person who's really starting to figure it out in order for them to make that leap into adulthood. We need each other desperately. So those are the kids that actually were drawn into these relationships and given a chance to exert voice and to participate in the community. Those are the ones that tended to last.